All right, everybody, we need to talk because the backup quarterback situation in Denver just hit a breaking point. And I don't think I'm alone in saying this. Before we get into it, if you're new around here, smash that subscribe button right now. We are grinding toward 1,000 subscribers on this channel. And honestly, every single one of you watching has the power to help us get there. Okay, now let's get into why the tight end room of all things just exposed. One of the biggest problems on this entire roster. This past week, Adam Trotman led all Broncos tight ends in production. One catch, 4 yards. That's it. That's the stat line. And look, I'm not here to rip on Adam Troutman specifically, but when your leading tight end production for the week is a single 4 yard grab, that tells you everything you need to know about the state of the depth behind Bo Nix right now. And it's not just the tight end room. It's the whole supporting cast around our starting quarterback. And specifically, it is the total lack of a trustworthy backup signal caller. So here's the case, and I mean this with my whole chest. Sean Payton needs to pick up the phone and find out exactly what it would take to bring Taysom Hill to Denver. Let's talk about why this makes sense, because I know some of you are going to roll your eyes at a 36-year-old name, but stick with me. Taysom Hill is 6'2", 221 pounds, and he has been grinding in this league for roughly 9 seasons now. Yes, he is 36 years old, but he is also 2 full years removed from the knee injury that slowed him down. Sean Payton himself has talked about this publicly, how it genuinely takes about 2 years for a player to come all the way back and feel like themselves again after that kind of injury. And here's the thing that makes this feel less like a fantasy and more like a real possibility. Sean Payton and Taysom Hill were both reportedly seen together at Drew Brees' Hall of Fame induction ceremony this offseason. You think those two didn't have a conversation? You think Peyton isn't at least entertaining the idea of reuniting with a guy he trusted for years in New Orleans? Here's why this actually matters beyond nostalgia. We cannot, as a fan base, be sitting here fully trusting our season to Jarrett Stidham as the only real fallback option if something happens to Bo Nix. God forbid. And I mean, genuinely, God forbid we see another catastrophic injury like a broken ankle. We need a real answer behind center, not a hope and pray situation. And there is a lot to like about what Taysom Hill actually brings to the table. He is 7-2 as a career starter. Now look, I know quarterback wins is not the cleanest stat in football. It's flawed. We all know that. But there is something to be said for a guy who just knows how to close out games and not give them away. 7-2 speaks to a certain quality that not every backup has. And production-wise, this might surprise you. Taysom Hill has thrown for almost 2,400 yards in his career. And remember, this is a guy who has spent most of his snaps as a part-time gadget player and utility weapon, not even a full-time starting quarterback. For context, Jarrett Stidham's regular season passing total sits right around 1,400 yards. Now, sure, you could tack on another 150 or so from that legendary snow game performance in the AFC Championship. But even with that bump, Taysom Hill is still, believe it or not, a more experienced regular season passer than Jarrett Stidham. Let that sink in for a second. And honestly, I think we did some of this to ourselves. Looking back, I've come around to the idea that Sean Payton may have held on to Sam Ehlinger and Jarrett Stidham a little too long without truly testing the market for other options. Look around the league right now. You've got late round and undrafted quarterbacks getting paired with strong offensive coaching and absolutely balling out in the preseason. I wish we had at least given a guy like Sawyer Robinson a real look here in Denver, because the results other teams are getting from similar afterthought quarterbacks have been eye-opening. Take a look at Hunter King this preseason, 62% completion rate, 2 touchdowns, plus some rushing production mixed in. Or how about Tennessee product Joey Aguilar, an undrafted free agent putting up video game numbers, completing an absurd 90% of his passes, 10 of 11 for 173 yards and a touchdown. And then there's Joe Milton, a guy who has been kicking around the league for a couple of seasons now and is finally starting to show real development. This preseason alone, he's 21 of 28 passing for 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 10 yards per attempt, and 286 passing yards. That is a 6th-round pick playing like a legitimate NFL starter right now, and it stings a little watching it happen somewhere else. Meanwhile, here in Denver, we opted to roll with names like Mott Scoggins and Riley Bentley, over bringing in someone who could give this room what a guy like Taysom Hill or Joe Milton has clearly shown they're capable of. And I'll be honest with you, I don't think either of those internal options has done enough on tape to fully earn the trust of this fan base. I even wonder if their own teammates have full confidence in them, and that is something only the players in that locker room can really answer for themselves. I know it's a lot to ask a rookie or a fringe roster guy to just walk in and be that guy, but the reality is, because this team didn't shake up the quarterback room more aggressively this offseason, we are stuck weighing between developmental unknowns and a proven veteran who already knows Sean Payton's system inside and out. And that's really the beauty of the Taysom Hill idea. This isn't some random flyer in a guide who has to learn a brand new playbook from scratch. This is essentially bringing a player out of a soft retirement who has run this exact offense for years under this exact coaching staff. You hope the conditioning is still there, but even accounting for some rust, I think he would instantly instill trust in that locker room because players respect proven winners. And it's not just about the quarterback room either. This is a legitimate football player who does everything. He'll contribute on special teams. He'll help fill the void at fullback and tight end, a spot that, remember, produced a single 4-yard catch last week. He can line up in short yardage packages and take some of the physical punishment off Bo Nix's shoulders in those high contact situations. And when called upon, he can genuinely run this offense at a level most emergency backups simply cannot match. All right, we're at the halfway point here, and I need a favor from you. If you're enjoying this breakdown, hit that like button right now. Drop a comment telling me if you're on board with the Taysom Hill idea, and if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe. We are chasing 1,000 subscribers on this channel, and getting there means a lot more content like this, breaking down exactly what this roster needs heading into the season. Every subscriber genuinely counts for a channel our size, so thank you in advance. Now let's talk roster construction, because this quarterback conversation doesn't exist in a vacuum. Here's how I would currently project the 53-man roster, 24 players on offense and 26 on defense. Starting with the quarterback room, regardless of whether a veteran addition happens, Jarrett Stidham is going to need to be the guy who gets everybody else up to speed initially as that primary backup. In the backfield, you're looking at a group built around the current committee. At receiver, 5 spots locked down by the top of the depth chart, your top target, your veteran possession guy, and then rotational pieces rounding things out. At tight end and fullback, a handful of names feel like locks for the roster, and this is exactly the spot where I think you either slot in a name like Taysom Hill if that move happens, or you roll with one of the current young depth options and hope for growth. On the offensive line, you're looking at 9 total linemen, your full starting 5+ depth pieces rounding out the group. On defense, 7 defensive linemen make the cut, with one name in particular I believe sticks around on production alone, while another young player's roster spot may come down to whether he can put something together and earn a jersey by final cuts. At edge rusher, 5 names feel fairly settled based on what we've seen this offseason. At linebacker, a pair of familiar names anchor that row. At safety, I've got 5 making the roster, led by the veteran presence in that group, with the recent free agent safety addition and a promising young defensive back rounding things out. And then, of course, your specialists filling out the final spots. As for the practice squad, you're looking at a handful of vested veterans providing valuable depth and experience, mixed in with a wave of younger developmental talent the coaching staff clearly wants to keep in-house and continue building. And this is exactly where a name like Taysom Hill could realistically slot in as a vested veteran addition if the front office decides to make that move, giving this roster a safety net it currently does not have. Look, I want to be real with you all. I think this backup quarterback and backup tight end situation has looked exactly how we've been worried about it looking all offseason long. It has not gotten dramatically better, and the tape backs that up. So I'm asking you directly, are you at the point where you're saying, Sean Payton, pick up the phone, make the call, get this done? Personally, I would absolutely love to see Taysom Hill back in a Broncos uniform. There's even a jersey number sitting there open and waiting for him. I genuinely believe he could come in and immediately be the steadying presence this quarterback room desperately needs. Both for the players in that locker room and for all of us watching every single Sunday, hoping we don't have to hold our breath every time Bo Nix takes a hit. Here's the bigger picture, though, because this isn't just about one player fixing one problem. This entire situation is a reflection of a front office that maybe played it a little too conservative at the most important non-starting position on the roster. When you look around this league right now and see undrafted rookies and sixth-round afterthoughts putting up efficient, mistake-free performances behind good coaching, and then you look at our own depth chart, it raises a fair question about whether this organization left opportunity on the table by not testing the waters more aggressively this offseason. That doesn't mean panic. It doesn't mean this roster is doomed. It means there is a very real, very fixable gap, and Taysom Hill represents about as clean a fix as you're going to find on the open market or through a quiet phone call to a familiar face. Think about what this move would actually mean heading into the stretch of the season where health becomes everything. Every single year in this league, the teams that make deep runs are almost never the ones who simply stayed healthy by accident. They're the ones who built in insurance at the right positions before they desperately needed it. Right now, this roster does not have that insurance at quarterback, and pretending otherwise because Jarrett Stidham gave us one magical performance in a snowstorm is not a plan. That's a hope. And hope is not something you want to be building a Super Bowl run around. So here is where I stand, and I want to hear exactly where you stand too. Drop it in the comments below. Do you want to see Sean Payton make this call and bring Taysom Hill back into the fold, or do you trust the internal options currently on this roster to rise to the occasion if Bo Nix ever needs a breather? I have a feeling most of you already know exactly how you feel about this one, and I cannot wait to read through the comment section after this goes up. That's going to wrap up this breakdown. If you made it all the way through, thank you. Genuinely, that means a lot to this channel. Do me one more favor before you go. Smash that like button. Leave a comment with your take on the Taysom Hill situation. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do it right now. We are working our way toward 1,000 subscribers, and every single one of you watching this video has the ability to help us get there faster. Turn on notifications so you never miss a breakdown, because there is a lot more roster analysis coming as we get closer to kickoff. Until next time, I'll see you all in the comments. Let's go.
Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 2,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now.